Hello, this is the Web Animation Programming CA2 for Glenn Gilmore. I started off by creating an A tag using the following code to animate it that allowed it to skip the animation to go to the DKIT homepage. I also made a hover tag, so when you hover over the animated text, the background color of a box will turn to grey. The next bit of code I added was a fade that allowed an image to come in after a few seconds. This came from the center of the screen, and from 0% to 90% kept the border radius at 50%, so it kept a circular shape until 90%, which allowed it to look like a circle until the animation was almost completed. I did this for each of the browser types: Mozilla, Microsoft, Chrome and Opera. When the border radius got to 100%, I took away the animation so it looked like the image went to full screen. For the image that had to come over the original image, I had to create a z-index that allowed the image to go above the image below. I did this using a z-index of 300 to make sure that it went above the other one. Next, I did the text animation. I started the text from off the screen at -200 pixels, and then it went to 200 pixels, which is on the screen. It came from the top down. I did this for each of the keyframes: Mozilla, Opera, Microsoft and Chrome. Next, I animated the text, giving it a z-index of 200, which went above the first image but below the second image. I also set the web animation to start at 1 second. For the delay for the next texts, I added a z-index of 400 to go above the second image, and a delay of 10 seconds, which allowed enough time for the first image to be read and observed. For the second delay, I set a color of gold for the text and a z-index of 700 to allow it to go above the next image, and also a delay of 18 seconds so it showed up one time. For the third delay, I set a z-index of 900 to allow it to go above all the rest of the images. I also set a delay time of 24 seconds to allow it to appear at the right time. Next, I set up the sub-image animation. This allowed the pictures to come from the top of the screen, coming down in columns. I set the z-index to 600 to allow it to stay above the previous two images. For the first image, I set a sub-image container to allow the image to come in. I set the animation to 19 seconds, which allowed enough time for the first two animations to be seen and read. I also added a delay of 1 second to the next image to allow it to come in after the next one, and a further 2 seconds to allow it to come on the next one, and 3 seconds to allow the final image to come in. For the sum images, I had to set a width of 25% to allow 4 images to come in. I set the height to 100% so it showed the full screen. I also had to put a margin on the second, third and fourth image so the images do not overlap. For the video animation, I set that the image would come in from the left of -150 pixels so it didn't show up on the screen at the start. Next, I set a z-index of -1 to start the video at the very back of the animations. I also set a video enter time of -4 seconds and a delay of 25 seconds to allow the video to keep playing throughout the animation and to come in at 25 seconds. As the video enters, it does a 180-degree rotation and a scaling of -1 to a z-index of 3000 so it stays above all the other images, and an opacity of 1 to make it visible. It also scales in by 1 on the X and Y axis. The first bit of code we see here is the text animations that I allowed to come in, and shows the delays of each. The delay ID of each. The next div is for the 4 column images. I had to put the image in each time to allow the picture to take out the certain part that needed to be put in at certain times. The next part is the first animation on my page. It allows the image to radiate from the center of the other image. The href is the skip animation button, and the div video is for the iframe that plays at the end. Here's my final animation. And that concludes my screencast.